You have depleted your life energy just by following up one thought, which led up to a train of thoughts.
So the starting point with changing the world is to become aware of how you operate in this world. The starting point is, how do you relate to the humans in your life? What is your mind? What is your mind doing? What is your predominant state of consciousness? What are your predominant emotions? What are the predominant thoughts that go through your mind? It's vitally important to become aware of that. If you're not aware of what the predominant emotions are, that the predominant thoughts are, plus accompanying emotions that go through your mind, you are unaware. And the emotions, the thoughts and emotions that arise continuously within you are a form of conditioning, and so they take possession of you. So it's vitally important, as the starting point for changing the world is to become aware of your world. How do you operate in this world? How are your relationships? Is there a lot of antagonism? Are there grievances and a lot of conflict? Are there many people that you hate? Are there more people that you like or love? Is there love, compassion, or not so much? How do you relate to people? How do you relate to strangers that you meet in a shop, in a store? How do you relate to somebody you meet in an elevator? All these things are part of what you manifest as your world. So it's how do you what is the predominant energy that you manifest in your life that affects other humans? That is a very important starting point. That, of course, is expressed in the famous saying, be the change that you want to see in this world.
The ego is active in you because what's upset is not you, it's the ego in you. The ego is the erroneous identification with form, a false sense of I, which wanted something to make itself feel more at ease or bigger or more important or whatever, and is frustrated in its aims. Well, that's a good, then it's like a little, if you had a little, it's almost like having a little technical device on your arm that tells you whenever your ego comes back, it goes bleep, 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 bleep. You don't need that. Well, if somebody here is a technical wizard and is going to invent it, it's fine. But you don't need that, because all you need is to know if you're upset or not in everyday life. Now, for many walking egos, upset is their normal state. They might not even know it anymore because they're upset virtually all the time. And just waiting for some other thing to happen to explain why they are upset again. But of course, there's the underlying dissatisfaction is always there. Foundation then is stillness. That's the return journey. So can we be then simultaneously in the return journey to the source of all life, spiritual dimension, God, stillness, and still be active in this world? And then, if we are that, what we then do in this world becomes empowered by the intelligence that emanates from the source. And then the source creates through you. No longer, the power of the source is then no longer distorted by the ego, and its power greatly diminished to a trickle. Fullness of the present moment, the undifferentiated fullness, what Jesus called life in its fullness, in one of the translations. I want you to have life in its fullness, he said. And that is not stuff, he's not referring to things. Life in its fullness is an inner state of being. It is to experience, to know, to realize the beingness within you, the I am, which is consciousness itself. That is life, that is the fullness of life in the words of Jesus. The fullness of life is to realize that, so that once you realize that, and it is consciousness, you know yourself as consciousness. Once you know that, then no future moment can possibly be better. Anything that can happen in the future is an adding on to. So if you bring together, if you have a vision in your mind of what it is you want to achieve or create or manifest, and you bring this vision into this sense of still fullness that you sense now, and you bring that together, that is the most powerful creative tool. The way that it's usually expressed, Jesus expressed it too, he said, when you pray for something, believe that you already have it. But I think he probably used actually slightly different words, but that's how it was written down. He's probably said, feel that you already have it. Whatever it is that you want to have, that you think is going to be, you need to feel already the feeling that you. Now, how do you do that? By feeling that which is beyond the world of phenomena, out of which everything arises, which is consciousness. So when you know yourself as consciousness, that's already the fulfillment. Let's say even an insignificant thing. Let's say you want to have a nice house. Let's just say, if I had a nice house out in nature, then I would be really happy. I want to have a nice house in nature next to a little forest, and then there's a lake there, and I can walk to the lake, and then how would you feel? Okay, I would feel exactly the way I'm feeling now. Some teachers use the word happiness, even some great teachers, and I know exactly what they mean. Ramana Maharshi, the great Indian sage, said, happiness is your true nature. But I know exactly what he means, and he's absolutely right. Except the term happiness as a pointer may not be the best, but if you know what he means, then you can see beyond the limitations of the pointer and say, yes, he is absolutely right. Because happiness is the connectedness with the unmanifested, it is the joy that is not caused by anything out here. Uncaused joy. That is the joy of aliveness itself, the joy of being conscious, of consciousness itself, life enjoying itself, life recognizing itself. And in that self-recognition, there is joy. I am life. That's joy. And it's very subtle that it's in the that joyful aliveness in the background of your life is very subtle at first. And as you pay more attention to it, you feel how it's a vast power there. Your mind has to become still, by the way. As long as you're interested in every thought that comes, you can't sense that. You have to let go of the thoughts. At least don't be drawn into every thought that comes up, and follow it with your attention, like somebody has got a piece of a carrot on a string or something and pulling, you're running after it. Or a dog running after a bone on a piece of string. That's the thought that comes into your head. And you follow every thought that comes. And before you know it, half an hour has passed and you followed up a train of thought into weird places of fear and anxiety and feeling not good enough and anger towards others. And finally you have depleted your life energy just by following up one thought, which led up to a train of thoughts. And then your mind doesn't leave you alone, and another one comes up. Oh no, go this way now. So you don't follow every thought with your attention. If a thought comes, say, okay, let it go. If you don't give it your attention, you're not interested in following it up. You just let it. It comes, there it comes. Where's your life going? Where are you really going with your life? What are you going to achieve? What have you achieved? You haven't done anything with your life, have you? And you recognize it as just a thought.
So you are trapped in this fearful, vicious circle of emotion, fearful thinking, creating the emotion of fear, and the emotion of fear rising back up into your mind and creating a emotionally charged, fearful thinking. And when you are in that state, you cannot think clearly. Whatever thought that arises, what do I have to do now? What can I do now? It's very unlikely that you will have a creative and a useful thought. Whatever your action you take on the basis of fearful thinking is likely to be not wise, not effective, and probably wrong, and leads to more suffering. In whatever way you interpret the world through the veil of fearful thinking, in whatever way you interpret the world when you're in the grip of fearful thinking, is going to be a complete misinterpretation. But to you, when you identify with it, it's the reality. So the first thing is to become aware of thoughts and emotions. And then, that means the awareness has arisen, it's there. Then once you recognize the futility and destructive nature of certain types of thinking, you're able to increasingly let go of it and replace it, not immediately necessarily with positive thoughts, but it's better to, because you still have the negative emotion there. So if you immediately replace the unconscious fearful thinking with positive thoughts, there's a conflict between the emotion that is still there, which is the fear, and the thoughts that are floating on top there. And you will feel that there's something not right, because the emotion says you're in a critical state, and your mind has a thought that all is well, life is good, I'm going to be abundant. It's unlikely that this will be effective. So again, realize what kind of thoughts go through your mind, recognize the futility and destructive nature of these types of thought, and then replace these thoughts not immediately with positive thoughts, but with awareness.